Joining me now, former ambassador to the United Nations, American Enterprise Institute senior fellow, John Bolton, Fox News contributor as well. Great to have you here.
Glad to be here.
Well, I promised the audience, as you heard, that you would divulge every word of that meeting, in jest, of course. How did it go?
Well, it was a very serious meeting, and I was honored to be there. And as I've now said probably for the umpteenth straight time, I'm old school enough that I don't want to get into the specifics. But look, I was glad to have the opportunity to speak with the President-elect.
Obviously, John and I are good enough friends that I can kid him about talking about the meeting. But I'm also straightforward enough to say he's one of the people I would hope would be part of the leadership of this government. He's an extraordinary man, and we wish you and the country the very best.
Well, thank you so much, Lou. I appreciate it.
Let's turn to this phone call, if I may, and because there is such a kerfuffle, if you will, emanating from some of the orthodox establishment types in Washington, D.C., over a phone call with the President of Taiwan, which has been such an important ally over the course of many decades. What is this all about?
Yeah. Well, let me say, we didn't discuss Taiwan, so before anybody gets upset and thinks that I had something to do with it, but I think it was exactly the right thing to do. I think that the President of the United States should talk to any foreign leader he thinks it's in the interest of the United States to talk to. This was a courtesy call, as all the other dozens of calls are that he's taken. Tsai Ing-wen is a democratically elected president of a representative government in Taiwan, a free government, a free press, free economy, the whole bit.
A great people.
And people who have been friends of the United States for decades after we have treated them shabbily time and time again, from what happened with the loss to China in the UN when they were replaced by Beijing, to the derecognition in the Carter administration, over and over again, and they have stood with us. It's a remarkable record.
When I say a great people, I mean in every sense of the word. Industrious, inventive, extraordinary, some of the greatest work ethics, a great people who deserve, as you suggest, as you say, far better from their most important and able ally. It is, to me, I will tell you, I'm heartened to see the President step forward and speak to whom he pleases.
Yeah, and let's be clear, this is a phone conversation. You know, this doesn't necessarily mean anything in terms of policy changes.
No treaties or maps are redrawn?
I would certainly welcome some policy changes. But if you are in a place where you can't even talk to the leader of Taiwan, who put us in that place? What is it about the United States and its president that we feel inhibited in talking to somebody? I just want to have it explained why it's so upsetting to Beijing that we acknowledge this political and geographic reality off their coast.
And I want to turn to Jim Mad Dog Mattis. There is something about having a general whose nickname is Mad Dog at the top of the Defense Department that I cheer instantly. Once one knows who he is, you cheer all the more. Your thoughts on it?
Look, one of the points that Donald Trump made emphatically during the campaign was the need to rebuild America's defenses. We are strained in terms of manpower. We're way behind in procurement of weapon systems. We're not doing nearly enough in cyber warfare. We need to get up the national missile defense system that Obama has essentially destroyed. You need a leader at the Defense Department who can carry that burden to rebuild the military. And I don't know General Mattis personally, so I don't have any conflicts here, I think, but his reputation as one of America's finest military leaders, I think, will give him credibility with Congress when it comes to some tough budget decisions. I think he'll be an important voice around the National Security Council table.
Yeah, and I think one of the finest generals, who's Jack Keane, gives Mattis high marks as well, and I'm one of those, the friend of a friend, a general of a general. You know, these are remarkable men, and
indeed,
I think we're very fortunate as a country to have them, and certainly the administration coming in to have a choice of all of you, I think is wonderful. I do want to ask you about Italy, because that vote is coming up very quickly Sunday, and we see, again, the European Union itself threatened by rising, really right-wing populism in the continent. What do you expect? What are the likely effects?
Well, I think the very real possibility is that the referendum will decide not to grant the Renzi government more authority, and it will be treated as a rebuff to the European Union. This is what happens, you know, when you let the people vote. They tend to say what they think rather than what the leaders think. So people will describe this in some respects as right-wing populism. I don't think it is at all. I think it's a matter of people saying, you know, actually, we think we can govern ourselves. We don't need to be told by Brussels what to do. We don't need to be told by politicians in Rome what to do. And I think it will cause further erosion. I think this European Union experiment is entering into very grave territory here. They have tried to push too far, too fast, without popular support. Ultimately, it won't work.
And surprisingly, I think it can be fairly argued, whether you describe it as right-wing populism or simply rebellion against elites straightforwardly. We were watching Angela Merkel has led the EU into perdition with her initial policies and her attempt to recast herself and her policies, not likely to be successful.
Look, there are a number of votes and elections coming up across Europe in the next year. We need a new president to deal with a new reality in Europe. It won't come soon enough.
We're always ahead of those Europeans. We've got a new president on the way. Ambassador John Bolton, good luck. We appreciate you taking time to be with us.
Thank you so much, Lou.